Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. Jacalyn. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. Jacalyn at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. I'm the president, founder, and chief listening officer here at our network, and we are super excited to have you join us wherever you are in the world. Our show today is The Corner Bookstore, where we feature authors and writers from all over the world, hear their backstory, and also about the wonderful creations that they have put into the world to educate and entertain us. Joining me on this platform is the star of our show. She is no stranger to writing. She has won all kinds of awards. She is truly global. She is the queen of networking, and she's a dear friend. Let's welcome DIANN FLOYD BOEHM to the show. Hello, DIANN.
Hi, great to see you, Dr. Jacalyn. Thank you for the beautiful introduction.
Thank you. Great to see you as well. And this is our second show this week, right? We did yesterday the United Kingdom news and culture, which is always fun hearing about what's going on with the royal family and with our expert correspondents in the UK.
Absolutely. I love that show. I'm always learning something, right?
Yes, me too. And we're always learning something here as well. And
That's
what
right.
I love is that each and every person really has the ability to tap into their creativity and put pen to paper or fingers to keys and get something out there. But people don't do it for various reasons. And we feature people who do, people who are published authors or people who are writing and they're going to get published. And they share with us why they're so passionate about what they're doing. And you're one of those people, DIANN. So before we bring out our guest, I'd love to spotlight you. You have had so many successful projects. I cannot keep up. And just tell our audience about the work that you're currently excited about the most.
Sure, I'll be happy to. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm very excited that Charlie and the Tire Swing, which was released about a month ago, is still getting rave reviews. So it was just featured in Connections E magazine, and I just read it today. So I was very, very thrilled about it. So that's what I'm excited about today.
All right. Thank you. You're very modest, DIANN. I expected a little more, but that's okay. I'll just let people know that you focus on children and young adults, but that your books are really, truly for everyone. There's a message and a meaning that all of us can relate to. So thank you for continuing to inspire all of us.
Oh, you're welcome. I didn't want to take over the show. So.
Well, we do have a fabulous guest, and I'm going to bring her out right away. Her name is JP Mclean, and she's a full-time author and living on a small island, which is fascinating. We're going to be talking about that as well as what it takes to build your writing and publishing team. This is a topic that is near and dear to so many. As you know, I have a new book coming out. I'm kind of all over the place, and I love to learn things from authors. Let's bring out JP. Hello.
Hey, great to be here.
Nice to have you with us. Thank you. And I'm just excited to not only celebrate the work that you have behind you, Go Smart, but also to hear your backstory and how it is to live on an island. Tell us more about that.
Well, it took a while to get to this little island, I'll tell you. I was raised in a big city, but I always had country roots because every weekend my parents would trudge us up to the Muskokas in Ontario, where it's like cottage country. And so I had my fill of mosquitoes and snow from up north. But I came out to BC, the coast of British Columbia. I came out here to go to university, and I have never gone back. It is so beautiful here. I just loved it. I lived in Vancouver for many years, and Vancouver is also a big city, and it has all of the big city problems and joys that big cities offer. And it wasn't until my husband decided he was going to go into business for himself that we decided to make a move to this little island. And he'd had this little chunk of paradise before I'd met him, because he had intended to retire here one day. We just ended up here earlier than we anticipated. So where I live now is called Denman Island. It's one of the northern Gulf Islands. It's in the Salish Sea. I just love that name, the Salish Sea. And it is nestled between Vancouver Island and British Columbia. And it is small by my standards. Certainly it's 50 square kilometers, or 20 square miles. And it's got, from the last census, it's got 1,300 people living on it now. It's a beautiful little spot. It's a perfect spot to be a writer. But I didn't know I was going to be a writer at that point. I was still working, workaday work in the business world. But my husband and I spent a number of years after I left my job. I traveled with him with his work. He works in mining. And so we were stationed in some beautiful, beautiful places in the sunny South. And it wasn't until I came back from the sunny South that I was facing my first really wet West Coast winter, and realized that I needed to find something to do to occupy myself to get through the winter. And that's when I took up writing, and I fell in love with it, and I have never stopped. But the living on this small island bit is absolutely probably the best move I've ever made. It's definitely the most interesting living arrangement. We have a beautiful house overlooking the ocean, but we're ferry bound, which is a whole new puzzle to figure out. So you have to wait in line to get off the island, you wait in line to get on the island, and you hope the ferry doesn't break down. That's one of the negative parts of living on the island. The really good part about living on the island is the community. It is such a small community that everyone knows everyone, or you know of them. Even if you don't know their name and you've never really met them, you know who they are just by looking at them, because their reputation precedes them. And that's one of the caveats of living on a small island. You better make sure that reputation is a good one.
I love it.
Wow. It's so exciting. I have so many questions. I'm going to go to DIANN just one second. So it sounds like you, like many of us, were in corporate and then decided to kind of break away. What do you feel you've gained by doing that?
A satisfaction. I'm no longer working for someone else. I'm working for me. And I love the fact that I can pick my own hours. I don't have to, people going through COVID experience this, it's not new anymore, but that idea that you can be in your pajamas and having a productive day. I can be out in the garden and be thinking about a plot problem or something I need to figure out with one of the books. And so even gardening becomes a work thing, but it's not work. Like the 4-letter work word isn't negative anymore. I'm excited to do it every day, any day, anytime, any day. It's wonderful working for yourself.
I have to agree with you. Just as a quick side note, I was out walking today. I try to get 15,000 steps in, and I thought, you couldn't pay me to go back to that office. The whole time I'm out, I'm thinking about production and what I'm going to do and getting some exercise. So kudos to you. That's fabulous. DIANN.
Well, there is a lot to unpack. It's so exciting to have you. I'm so glad you brought up the ferry, though, because I have been on an island and I was like 1 minute late for the ferry. And the ferry wasn't going to run at all the next day. So,
oh, no.
So has that ever happened to you?
Oh, yes, it has. Absolutely. We've been stuck on both sides. My husband's missed flights because the ferry didn't leave on time. We've had to leave the island a day early just to make sure we're going to get somewhere that we have to be the next day if it's an important appointment or something. And I had a girlfriend come visit me, a woman who lives just a little bit north. She decided to come and see Denman Island. And it was the first time she'd been here. And I was so embarrassed because she left our house to get to the 4:40 sailing that was leaving that afternoon. She got off the island at 11:30 that night.
Oh, no.
She was stuck in line that whole time because the ferry had broken down. And, it's unfortunate that the ferry breaks down. And it's just a fact of living on an island. You have to accept it when you move on the island because it's not going away. It's not like someone's going to build a bridge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What about
So,
mail delivery or packages?
And food.
Food.
Yeah.
What about food?
I want to
Well,
eat.
one of the things I gave up when I moved here was not food, but it was eating out. Because there are very few places where you can eat out and consistently. We do have 2 restaurants. Both serve lunch most days. One serves dinner most days. But we're far more likely to go out to friends' houses. So weekends is dinner out at friends' houses. But we have a fully serviced island in the sense that we have a general store, so you can get food. Sometimes it's frozen. You know, they'll take the meat and freeze it rather than try to sell it fresh. So it's frozen meat, frozen vegetables, good fresh vegetables during the summer because all the local, it's a farming community. It's very rural here. So you can get local produce, farmers market produce pretty much from, maybe March through until September, October. They still have rutabagas and stuff coming out. And they also have a liquor outlet, so you can get your beer and your wine from the store. Not a huge selection, but a little selection. There's a hardware store. There's a bookstore. Yes, Abraxas books. So thank you. And the bookstore has a cafe in the back, and they make really nice lunches. And we have a fitness center, a community hall. We have an elementary school on island. We have a medical clinic that has doctors and massage therapists and such. So we're well equipped for the ferry to be down, for sure. The zombie apocalypse comes, we're going to be good, at least in the summer. Winter is a little bit touch and go.
And you have the internet, so what more can one ask for?
We do. We have the Elon Musk dish because we don't yet have fiber optic, but it's coming. It's being delivered as we speak all around the island. People are they're digging the trenches and putting it in. So we will have fiber optic hopefully next year.
That's exciting.
And it is exciting.
Definitely exciting. Well, thanks for sharing that about the island. I think we'll talk a little bit more as we go through the interview. I'd love to touch on this building of the team. So in other words, I want people to think about it. They're sitting at home, they're going to write something, they get it published, then they write a second book, and all of a sudden you realize, wow, I have an opportunity to be a full-time author. This actually could be a money-making gig, and I need some help. What does that look like? What's your experience been like?
Well, the biggest lesson I have learned through this whole experience is that concept that you don't know what you don't know. And it takes a while to put together your career and team. And by career and team, I mean, when you start out, you give your book to your friends to read because you want their feedback on it. I think it's a natural thing that most people do when they're putting a book out. But what you don't realize is the people you want reading your book are people who regularly read your genre. So you're not giving it to, your husband's buddy who's a mechanic that could care less about, your fantasy book. So knowing that you have to have those proper readers reading your book and giving you that feedback is super important. Finding an editor that you can work with and that you feel comfortable with and that challenges you is also important. And that might take a couple of tries. And that's an expensive thing to do because editors are expensive, but you have to find one you can work with. And that's a lesson that you learn going through the process of having several books out. One of the other things that I learned, and I learned through error, is how you title your book is super important. And the cover you put on your book is super important. And you don't know that going in. I mean, you have a concept of that going in, but you don't have a clear idea of just how important those items are. And I messed up the first couple of books. The first 4 books I put out, it took me that long to figure out that, okay, this isn't working. I have to change something here. And so then going out and getting the proper advice from people who have been in your shoes. And so you end up with cover designers, you end up with people who can write more effective blurbs than you can write, because just because you're writing fiction doesn't mean you can summarize your book as cohesively as someone who does copywriting, for example, for a living. And some of the other things that I'm not good at that I need to get better at is social media. I didn't even have an account when I started this writing gig. And so getting Facebook and Twitter all set up properly and making sure that you're branded and you're putting a message out, that's all part of putting your team together, putting this brand out, that because you become the brand, you're the author, you're writing the books. And the other thing I did just recently, which it's been the most weight off my shoulders, is hiring a publicist, because reaching out to promote my book to people is darn right painful for me. So having someone else do that for me, again, that's another brick in my team. And I'm just so happy to have a solid presence there that does that for me. Thank goodness.
I agree with you, the publicist. I wish I would have realized that, or even knew. I always thought movie stars had publicists, so it was an awakening. But you're right; it sure does take a lot off your shoulders.
Yeah, and that piece of the puzzle was the last piece, because it took me probably, I think I've had Nikki for 3 years. So I was probably in this game for 8 years before I realized I cannot possibly do this and write full time. It was too much. So it does take time. It does not come quickly.
No. And Dr. Jacalyn, you know that with your own books and your own success, right? So.
Yes, it's true. I think with me, because my focus is on production and broadcasting, and then I'm also a writer. So it's the sense I'm getting from the two of you is that you're full-time passionate writing, and I'm writing, but I'm full-time broadcasting, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
Yeah, that's your passion. It has to be. Yeah. And I this is my passion. It certainly is, the writing part, but easily half my day was taken up with the other side of the business, easily half my day. And it's the little things like putting out bookmarks and advertisements and creating that graphic that looks nice. I don't have an eye for that. And I didn't really know that until I did badly at it for a while, and then realized you need to get somebody to do this stuff for you, because it's just taking up way too much of your time and it's not as good a quality. So again, it's, oh my goodness. Every year you seem to add another expert to your team.
Yeah. And I did what you, go ahead. I'm sorry, Dr. Jacalyn.
I was just going to say, that's really a pure sign of growth, right? And I think the knowledge and expertise and wisdom that you can't do it all yourself. And as business owners, because we're all business owners, we try initially, we're wearing 9,000 hats, juggling, doing this, and it's like tap dancing, singing. No, I can't do it all. I need some help. But I think it's also that trust factor that you are the brand and you're empowering someone else to represent you. And there's some fear there, sometimes some intimidation. How did you deal with that, if you did at all, JP?
Oh my goodness, did I ever. When I put the first book out, when it hit the public, I was so nervous and shy and embarrassed almost, because I didn't want the attention. I wanted people to read the book, but I didn't want them to focus on who wrote the book. I just wanted them to read the book and enjoy a good story. And that's not how it works. People will call you, and friends will because I write urban fantasy and supernatural thrillers, and it does not go with the persona that is the business degree person who worked in business for so many years. Those two things are so different that you kind of got the hairy eyeball from people who knew me saying, this is what you chose to write about. Saying, yeah, this is what I enjoy doing. So you do feel vulnerable. It's almost like you feel like you're standing naked in the middle of the road. That's how I felt when I put that first book out. But it's been a while now. I've grown thicker skin, but people still can get through and hurt me, but I try not to let it. I try to think about it from a broader perspective. Like it is super true, and you'll hear it all the time, that if you've got 50 reviews and one of them is negative, you'll remember the negative one. You don't remember the 49 glowing reviews. You remember that one negative one. So that's kind of the mentality I fight against all the time. I need to continuously think about the people who are enjoying the books and want more, rather than the people that say anything negative about the book. It's just that wasn't a good reader. That wasn't a good fit for that particular reader. And so it's taken a while to get over that initial hurt from that negativity and the negative feedback. And I think when I turned 50, I said, I don't much care so much anymore. I'm just putting it out there because I enjoy it, and that's it.
Good for
Great
you.
philosophy.
That's excellent.
Oh, thanks.
I'm glad you shared the genres that you're writing in. I love supernatural, so that's really cool.
It's such fun to write supernatural. It's it really is my reward. If I have vacuuming to do, I don't know why I hate vacuuming, but I do not like that. So if I have vacuuming to do, that it's my reward. So I'll say, okay, you're going to vacuum, maybe just half the house. Maybe you don't have to do the whole thing. But once you're done that chore, you can go write. And you can do 3 hours and have a glass of wine. Yes.
Woo! Yes. I love that. Discipline, structure, reward. That's what I'm all about too. That makes a lot of sense. We are going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I would love to have you read from your book for us. Would you do that?
Oh, sure.
Okay, fantastic. Everybody, please do stay with us throughout the break. We're going to hear from some of our sponsors, including the lovely DIANN Floyd BOEHM. We'll be right back.
Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to Story Garden. Your host, DIANN BOEHM. I'm so happy to have you here today.
DIANN Floyd BOEHM tells wonderful stories that warm the heart, spark the imagination, and unite people and families across generations. For children, Diane's Harry the Camel connects with all of us who've ever wondered how different our lives might have been if only we'd been born something better, like a wonderful horse instead of an ordinary camel. In the end, we all learn along with Harry that there's nothing better than just being yourself. Diane's Little Girl in the Moon looks down on earthbound children and wonders if they know she's just like them. A story of love, home, and the bond between mother and daughter, its powerful theme that we're each of us different yet all of us the same plants a seed in children that promises to blossom within a loving and trusting grown-up. Diane's new biography, Rise, recounts the experiences of her grandmother, Ruby, to reveal the hidden strength of the human spirit. Ruby's story inspires all of us to become the best versions of ourselves. You'll find all of Diane's delightful books and much more at DIANNFloydBOEHM.com. Visit DIANNFLOYDBOEHM.com. That's DIANNFloydBOEHM.com.
The session that we had with BCAT was really entertaining and enlightening. We were able to put together some very specific steps that we as individuals can take, and it was really fun to all come together and see sort of where we're going as a team and how we can all get there together.
We had a tremendous experience with the BCAT partners. One of the challenges that we have as an organization is to make sure that we have the right people in the right chairs doing the right thing. To do that well, you have to have synergy. You can try to dream up ways to make sure that your group does that, or you can rely on experts. We would recommend BCAT partners to anybody who's looking to take their organization to the next level.
welcome back to the show. We are still here at USA Global TV and Radio. I'm still Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and this is the Corner Bookstore. Thank you to DIANN FLOYD for her sponsorship. Let's bring her back on. Hello.
Hi, Dr. Jacalyn.
Hi, DIANN. Thank you again for all your support and your loyalty here at USA Global TV and Radio.
It is an honor. I am so happy to be a part of the world that you're bringing to everyone. It's incredible. You're an amazing woman, truly.
Thank you, dear. Thank
and
you. So
everybody, she did not pay me to say that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I feel the same way about you. Let's bring back our guest who's joining us from a small island, hoping that the ferry keeps on trucking along. And she's going to read for us. I'm super excited. Welcome back, JP. Hello.
Thank you. Good to be back.
Thank you. So what are you going to read for us today?
I am going to read from Ghostmark, which is my brand new release. It came out on November the 1st. And Ghostmark is the second book in the Dark Dreams series and carries on where the first book called Bloodmark left off. And this is the intro to the piece. It's the very first chapter. And as a bit of background, in Ghostmark, Jane Walker, who's the main character, she sets out to right a wrong that she was responsible for in the first book when she inadvertently changed history. And as a result of changing history, she hurt a lot of people, or her actions hurt a lot of people. But there was one man named Buddy who might have benefited from the mistake. And when she finally finds him, she learns that he's not quite the man he used to be. So this is chapter 1, and it is Jane. Guilt was a nagging constant in Jane Walker's life, a gargoyle digging its claws into her spine. She inhaled a heavy breath and steeled herself to return to work. Jane used to love her nursery job at Positively Plants in Vancouver's West End, but seeing Peter in his wheelchair every day and his mom, Anna, with her cane, ate at her conscience. And then there was Buddy. She wanted to believe that he had survived her unforgivable lapse of judgment. The lack of a death certificate was a glimmer of hope, but it had been months now, and she hadn't found him. "You done?" Ethan said, reaching across the brushed steel bar for Jane's plate. Shaken from her thoughts, Jane looked up. "Yeah, thanks." She rested her fork beside the cold French fry she'd been scooting around her plate and nudged the dish in his direction, catching the slight lift at the edge of his smile that was just for her. The mirror on the wall of bottles behind him reflected the sunlight that soaked through the frosted windows, brightening the room. The effect was amplified by steel tables and blonde wood chairs, the product of a recent renovation. Music drizzled in the background, but tonight, when the line formed outside, Riptide's lights would dim and the music would thump. Ethan set Jane's plate in the bussing bin beside the glass washer. A wayward New Year's streamer lay drunkenly underneath. Jane checked the time. "Guess I'd better go." Laughter erupted from a table of safety-vested construction workers across the room, who dwarfed their table. Fanny, their server, waved them off and brushed up to the bar. "They giving you a hard time?" Ethan asked as he loaded her tray with pints of beer he'd just pulled. Ethan was notoriously protective of the staff, not that Fanny needed it. Though petite, she was a career server and could fend off the worst of a liquid lunch crowd. "They wouldn't dare," Fanny said, picking up her overloaded tray and starting back. Ethan turned to Jane. "You coming over tonight?" Her relationship with Ethan Bryce was still fresh, exciting. He was the first man who had seen beyond her birthmarks, back when she had birthmarks. The first man who loved her without an ounce of pity. That he was also ripped and handsome was a delicious extra. "After 8, okay?" Jane slid off the bar stool and pulled on her jacket. "Thanks for lunch." "Anytime," Ethan said. She grabbed her helmet and started for the door, but the sound of breaking glass startled her. She swung her head around to the commotion and saw Fanny looking in her direction. With an apology to the construction worker, whose beer she'd just dropped, Fanny darted her gaze away. Jane paused, wondering what spooked her, and stepped forward again, not noticing that a wall of a man had veered into her path. She knocked into him hard enough to loosen her grip on the helmet, and gasped as it fell to the floor, bounced, and landed at the feet of the man's companion. Sorry, she said to the brick wall she'd bumped into. The man acknowledged her apology with a curt nod, no smile. No wonder Fanny had dropped her glass. He stood his ground, a boulder in a stream, flotsam floating around him. He ran his hand over the dome of his clean-shaven head. The other man stooped to pick up her helmet. Raindrops glistened on the shoulders of his canvas jacket. Thank you, she said. He glanced up at her as he handed her the helmet. Jane sucked in a breath. His eyes were mismatched, one hazel, one brown. She scrutinized him, a more perfect version of the man she remembered. Jane could hardly catch her breath. She'd been searching for him for months. Buddy? A spark of recognition flashed in his eyes before the man frowned. No. He looked at his friend with a shrug that suggested Jane maybe had been overserved. No. He was beefier than the Buddy she knew and taller, but Jane had only ever seen him in a wheelchair. And Buddy was just a nickname. Might be that in this altered reality, he didn't have that nickname. She reached for him, stammering while her tongue caught up to her memory. Dylan. That was his given name, Dylan O'Brien. He stepped back, raising his arms like she had some kind of contagion. I don't know you, lady. He then turned and continued toward the bar. The wall, that was his companion, dismissed her as well and moved alongside him. But how many people had those eyes? It had to be him. She called after him. Is your mum's name Mary? He rounded on her, annoyed now. You got the wrong guy. From behind the bar, Ethan caught Jane's attention and shook his head. A warning. She knew better than to ignore it. Though it killed her, she left Riptide without another word, wondering what it was that Ethan knew about Buddy, and how long had he known him. She took some comfort in having seen him, in knowing he was alive, but she'd have to wait until tonight to learn the reason for Ethan's warning. The wait would be torturous. Her curiosity about this version of Buddy was an itch she was dying to scratch. And that's chapter 1, or part of it.
Woo! Wow, you had me at hello. That was great. I'm like, yes, I want to hear more. So many twists and turns, and I just love all the details that you gave, the way you described everything. Is that a real place, by the way?
No, Riptide's a bar in my imagination. But the Positively Plants is a real place, or it used to be. It just closed down. It's a nursery in Vancouver. It doesn't go by that name, of course, but people who are familiar with Vancouver will pick up on locations that I use in the books. All of the books, actually. I love using local references.
That's great. Yeah, your first sentence did exactly what it was supposed to do. It gripped you. Guilt.
Yeah.
Like, okay, what are you guilty about?
Yeah. It's so true. The idea of that, when you're writing, if every chapter can have a really hooky first paragraph and a cliffy last paragraph, then you'll get the readers, continuing to read through.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it the same in children's books?
I think so. I really do. Especially because in children's books, you actually have two readers. You have the adult and you have the child. And if the adult doesn't like it, they're going to come up with telling the story shorter so they can get through it and get it over with. Where the child, wants to be able to touch the picture and imagine. And so you have some people that you're trying to reach. So
that is very unique. I never considered that before.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely true. Yeah.
So, but I couldn't. I've only written one young historical fiction, and that was a lot. And so kudos for you. And that's a great imagination.
Well, thanks. The publication of this Ghostmark is actually marks my millionth word in print, because this is my 9th full-length book, and I also have one novella and several short stories. So, and I keep a document in my organized business brain. I have a metadata document that has the page counts and word counts of all the books and all their ISBN numbers and such. And I had a running total, and I just went over the million. I was like, oh my God,
Wow, that's super exciting. I don't think anyone's ever shared that on the show. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm sure lots of other authors are way over that, but for me, it was a milestone. So
It's
you're
a
always
huge
supposed to celebrate your milestones.
Did you want to call up your old high school English teacher and say, look what I've done? That's how I feel.
I love it. JP, I want to make sure that we bring up your website so that people can learn more information about you. So let me go over here. And I'm actually on the website. If you can walk me through where to go.
So this is just the home. This is just introduction to me. And then across the top there, you'll see there's an about section, and you can learn about all the books. You can learn a little bit more about me. There is a section on the books, so you can learn about the books. If you want to get some free short stories, you can click on the red button there and join my VIP readers, and you get a whole bunch of free short stories. And then there's also all of the places where I am also on. So whenever I'm on a program, I put a link to it on my media page, and there's a bunch of pictures there that I've shared with people. And I also have a blog that I contribute to about once a month, just giving some information about what I'm writing and what's going on. And these medals, I'm so proud of these medals. I had, for this particular series, I decided to submit to contests. And that is another naked in the street moment when you start submitting to contests, because you just never know, it could be crickets, you might never hear from them. And I was so surprised to see that I was getting some really positive feedback from the NIEA Award people. So thank goodness that worked out, and it's been a very good learning experience for me. I probably applied to too many of them, is what I would say.
That's impressive. Congratulations.
I think from now on, you need to be introduced as award-winning author.
Yes. It's hard to say that. It is really difficult to say that. But yes, I should do more of that.
Yes. I understand what you mean. But yes, you're an award-winning author. That is a lot of awards, and congratulations.
Thank you. And the other thing I also put on my website is I have a PDF document of the first couple chapters. So if you're curious about the books and you don't want to make that leap of faith and purchase it, you can always get the download of the first couple chapters and see if you'll enjoy it.
That's really nice of you. This is super well done, this website.
Thank you. Thank you.
And you had spoke about covers earlier, and now seeing your various covers, they're really gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love that.
And that's part of building your team as well, right? So do you have different illustrators, or your publisher gets the illustrator for you?
I did have, originally I had a graphic designer, and very, very talented graphic designer. Did gorgeous covers, absolutely gorgeous. And what I learned, as I hinted at earlier, it took about 4 books before I figured it out. I was getting feedback from people that they thought that the books had a religious undertone to them, or that they were religious in and of themselves. And that was because the covers were beautiful. They weren't aimed at the market they needed to be aimed at. And anyone who was expecting a religious book would have been disappointed. And so I made the leap after 4 books and hired a professional cover designer. And that cover designer has stayed with me through all of my books and redid all the first ones and put these ones out. And it's so interesting because working with a cover designer, they send you a questionnaire, or this company does. And in the questionnaire, they ask things about what your book is going to be about, so that they have a better idea of how to focus the cover. And they want to know what you like and what you don't like and that kind of thing. So finding a cover designer that you can work with who has a vision, the same vision as you, is, I mean, to have found this company, and they're JD&J, I give them a little shout out because they are so good. And 2 of their covers have the first cover from a different series, won best cover in the Kobo store the year it came out. And the Bloodmark cover has been shortlisted for a award. We don't know the results of it yet. So, yeah, great company.
Congratulations. Yeah, I'm all about the cover. When I'm at the airport, that's generally when I pick up a new book. And if the cover doesn't catch me, then I don't even bother to open it. So
Yeah.
then it's cover, and then what does it say on the back? And then I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, that sounds like me. I'm going to read this, right?
Yeah.
Are you like that, Dr. Jacalyn?
I have to say, I'm embarrassed. I don't read very much because I'm always working.
But when you are reading, it's the cover,
Yes.
right? It
Yeah, it's the
grabs you,
cover.
right?
It's the cover. And I remember back when I used to go to bookstores, that cover would draw you in. And
Yeah.
now I'm behind the green screen. So that's where I'm all
Yeah.
the time.
Right.
Well, and the other thing about covers, you kind of, it's genre driven, because when you go into a bookstore, there is a change in hue and tone when you go from the romance section. Oftentimes you'll have the pale blues and the pale pinks and the lavenders and lovely calming kind of colors. And then if you go into the thrillers, it's black and yellow and red and angry. So the cover makes a huge difference, and cover designers know how to drag your readers into your books.
Wow, I never thought about it like that. But I do know that the cover designer, like, I really appreciated you sharing the story of your journey with the cover designer, because just because your illustrator, let's say in children's books, are really, really good, one of the illustrations doesn't necessarily in the book need to be on the cover. You almost need another person to design the cover to grab in, just like you said.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Sometimes I am my biggest obstacle, and I need to step back and let people who know better than me do it. It's that thing about, you want all the control. You want everything.
Want
I
it
do
all the time.
That's right.
Yes. Well, I've really enjoyed this conversation with you, and I thank you for being here today. Our next show is coming up right after this. JP, I'm going to spotlight you again for people who are listening on a radio channel or they're listening on a podcast, they're not watching. What's the best way to reach out to you? What's the best way to purchase your books?
You can get everything you need to know about me through my website, jpmcleanauthor.com. So you can find information about me, about my books. You'll find links to all your favorite retailers, all on that one site.
All right. I love when it's easy. Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank
you
you
for being here.
Oh, thank you. It's been my pleasure. Really appreciate it. Nice to meet you both.
Nice
Same
meeting
here.
you too.
Be
Please
sure to
come
come
back and
back.
see us on this
There you
show or
go.
any of our other shows for sure.
Yeah.
Happy to. Yeah.
All right. Thank you again. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye now.
I just love that. We learned so much today, didn't we, Diane?
Absolutely. Absolutely. How to live on an island, building a team, and her reading a story. Like you, Dr. Jacalyn, I just love to hear the author's voice reading their story. It really brings you in. You can feel.
That's one of the
kind
best
of what
reasons
they're
I love
thinking.
doing this specific show is to hear the author themselves. I mean, it really
Yes,
just adds so much to it. So beautiful.
that's true.
Diane, I'm going to spotlight you and for you to share how people can contact you and purchase your books and anything you have coming up.
Sure, I'll be happy to. Thank you, everyone, for joining the show. You can find me at DIANNFLOYDBOEHM. Let me spell that for you. DIANNFLOYDBOEHM.com. Just go there. You'll find all my books, as well as sign up for my newsletter and find out how you can have me come give a speech at some conference that you're interested in, or to a school, etc. And I will be happy to work with you. Thank you, Dr. Jacalyn.
Thank you, Diane. It was lovely seeing you again. And I just thank you for spreading the joy and light as you always do.
Oh, you're so sweet. Well, you do too. And I look forward to your next show. What's on the agenda for next?
So our next show is the Film and Music Show, and I will be joined by Madeline Chan in the UK, and our special guest is Leighton Benta, and he's laying his life on the line. So we're going to hear more about his crusade, his singing career, and how he's just putting himself out there to implore and really ask people to lead a heart-centric life, put the ego aside, and reach out and help other people.
Oh, this is going to be so exciting and inspirational. Thanks for sharing, Dr. Jacalyn. And I'll see you behind the green screen.
All right. Thanks again, Diane. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
And thank you to each and every one of you who are watching or listening. I do have one more announcement. We're super excited in partnership with the British School of Excellence. If you're not aware of them, we do a show every Friday called The Power of Etiquette and Manners with the principal of the British School of Excellence, Philip Sykes. We have the Taste the Taster session coming up. It's a taste of excellence. This falls under the British School of Excellence Train the Trainer. Have you ever dreamed of being an internationally accredited etiquette coach? Have you ever thought about this? You can create a business and life that you love, regardless of where you are in the world. Philip and his team have brought together incredible people who are focused on emotional intelligence and having the world understand that etiquette and manners is so much more than how to set a table. It's not for posh people, it's for everyone. So I hope that you'll join us right here, wherever it is that you're watching. Next week, the 22nd, it's going to start at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, which is 6 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. So please do join us here for that. Thank you again. We'll be right back shortly with the Film and Music Show. Thank you, JP. Thank you, Diane. And thank you to each and every one of you. Bye for now.